Hey doctors, this is Dr. Credeur here in Denver. I wanted to share with you a quick message and talk to you a little bit about our practice stats so you have an idea of what's really possible in chiropractic and what's possible in your practice and in your business when you use the full scope of your license. In 2009 we did just a tad bit under $3 million in collections between two doctors. Couple doctors were having some difficulties with patients coming in and being kind of thrown off that they were coming in or that they were coming to see a chiropractor. Big bold letters on the glass, on all the glass, was chiropractic, and you know that's very appropriate if that's all we're selling is chiropractic. But now as you're beginning to sell a different product, you really want to try to create some neutrality in your office. My recommendation would be to take all of the chiropractic paraphernalia out of the office, at least out of the common areas where maybe even considering redoing your cards if they say chiropractor on, or if you have brochures in your office, any signs in your office. I would take the spines out of the office, or at least hide them. You want it to be neutral. You want it to be like, you just want to be a doctor. If you have a website, if you're just doing decompression or you're just a straight chiropractor, all they're going to see is that you're a chiropractor. This is going to increase your no-shows. It's going to increase people who just flat out don't call. That you want it to be very generic. It might be like ours, drcredeur.com, or some other generic thing. So you're just holding yourself out as a doctor, a healthcare practitioner. And what you're going to have in your office is just multiple businesses and offering different.
New information tonight in an ongoing Call 7 investigation. Another chiropractor now facing state charges in the wake of our series of stories. Heather Credeur facing 13 counts. Call 7 investigator Teresa Marchetta breaking new details on her exclusive year-long investigation.
The case filed Wednesday by the Attorney General's office on behalf of the Chiropractic Board makes multiple assertions first exposed in a series of Call 7 investigations into the Functional Endocrinology Center.
It's going to be about $8,600.
This is Heather Credeur on hidden camera during a free consultation, telling a Call 7 producer the woman's thyroid drugs promoted diabetes.
Synthroid actually promotes diabetes, which is not good.
Most doctors are treating their patients on a faulty diagnosis.
And this is Credeur with her husband Brandon in TV and newspaper ads offering free gourmet dinners and consultations to new patients.
How many of you did not initially know that Brandon and Heather Credeur were chiropractors?
Former patients filled our studios saying they were misled by the Credeurs' claims and paid thousands in cash up front for treatments that didn't work.
He took all my money. I felt worse than I have in years.
The 13 counts threatening Heather Credeur's license include misleading, deceptive, and intimidating advertising, performing unnecessary testing. One count even addresses the name of the Credeurs' business, the Functional Endocrinology Center, as misleading, a point we first asked Brandon Credeur about last year.
You don't think the name of your business is a huge reason that people come to you?
No, not at all. It's not even close to a huge reason. Patients who come into this office understand that we're chiropractors, we're not endocrinologists. In fact, they're happy.
Brandon Credeur is already facing 25 counts against his license. His hearing is set for June. The board will set Heather Credeur's hearing date April 13th.
Meantime, both Credeurs continue to practice at their Denver office, and they're still advertising. Now they want to treat your sleep apnea and peripheral neuropathy. I'm Call 7 investigator Teresa Marchetta.
Hi, this is the end of July. In June, we collected over $318,000 in cash in our office, no insurance. I adjusted maybe 2 people the entire month. For the year already, we are at $1.4 million in collections, all cash, without really adjusting a single person. And things are going great here. I'm kicking back in my office, just really relaxing. I have a lot of other people doing the work for me and just watching the money roll in. So I'm very excited to announce that we have won the enormous battle to preserve the ability to serve you and the rest of the Denver community. We have discovered that the attacks, in part, were spurred by some in the Colorado medical community and their misinformed and biased understanding of the education and scope of practice for doctors of chiropractic. Chiropractic examiners affirmed once again our scope of practice. The board affirmed once again our use of the term functional endocrinology in our practice name. The board affirmed once again our use of the term functional endocrinology to describe our services. the board affirmed once again our ability to diagnose diabetes, thyroid conditions, autoimmune conditions, functional imbalances, etc. The board affirmed once again our ability to treat diabetes, thyroid conditions, autoimmune conditions, and other human ailments. Needless to say, we both feel exonerated and vindicated by the board's conclusion.
Call 7 investigation. A Denver chiropractor could have lost his license. Instead, the state settled for what his former patients say is a slap on the wrist. Call 7 investigator Teresa Marchetta first exposed complaints about Brandon Credeur's business practices more than a year ago. So, Teresa, what happened?
Well, Credeur went before an administrative law judge on allegations that he misled patients and practiced outside his scope. But the result? He's vindicated and keeps his license as long as he keeps better records. His former patients say it's a slap in the face from the agencies charged with protecting them.
He got off of all of this?
It's the news they've waited more than a year to hear.
I am angered, and I feel betrayed.
But it's not what they were expecting.
They're supposed to protect us, and they did nothing.
She's talking about Brandon Credeur's administrative hearing, defending his license against 25 counts brought by the chiropractic board, including negligent chiropractic practice, false or misleading advertising, and unethical advertising.
Just to give you an update, we've been exonerated and vindicated. That's the good news.
Credeur admits to nothing, gets to keep his license, but agrees to keep better records. But his troubles may not be over yet. 31 of his former patients have joined forces, taking Credeur to civil court.
I just don't understand where the justice is coming from.
More than 50 of his former patients came to our studio to learn the outcome of Credeur's hearing. They were blindsided by the lack of consequences, many thinking they had filed complaints but were never contacted by the state.
How many of you actually did file complaints with Dora and the Attorney General's office?
They didn't seem to take it too seriously and didn't even take my complaint, I don't think, as I recall. Just told me to call somebody else.
My testimony took nearly 3 hours.
Sandy Drapier is one of the former patients called to share her story at Credeur's hearing.
It was grueling. It took a lot out of me. Still takes a lot out of me.
She has MS and says she was told there was a neurologist on Credeur's staff.
We're here, we're telling him, we're warning him.
Sherry Carey didn't even know Credeur was a chiropractor when she went to him for thyroid help. She spent $8,000 and says she ended up with months of diarrhea, unable to work.
I thought, well, this is a slam dunk.
Dave Strauss also spent more than $8,000 on bags of supplements and a program he says caused his blood sugar to spike.
All the Attorney General's in Dora's office have to see is the video.
Web videos uncovered in a series of Call 7 investigations made by Credeur, selling other chiropractors his methods to attract new patients.
You can begin to learn how to explode your practice on a cash basis, collecting an extra $50, $60, $70, $100,000 a month in cash like that.
Videos the Attorney General's office subpoenaed from 7 News,
But these patients are desperate,
but never used in their case.
Start filling the pipeline with leads, people calling your office, what we call deal flow.
These people were sick people that relied on someone to help them, that didn't have the ability to help them. That ought to be against the law in Colorado.
Senate Minority Leader John Morse was as baffled as the patients who trusted state regulators to help them.
Maybe we should not be funding the Board of Chiropractic. I mean, if this is what they do, it's a waste of the taxpayers' money. To heck with it.
In response to our original Call 7 investigation, Morse introduced legislation to better protect patients and plans to rework the bill next session. He says this case points to even bigger flaws in the system.
This is very shoddy work on the part of a regulatory agency and on the part of the Attorney General.
Somebody needs to regulate Dora and the Attorney General's office because they're not doing what they need to do.
Brandon Credeur never returned my call in response to my request for an interview. Now, several of the patients who reached out to us were signed up and seen by Heather Credeur, Brandon Credeur's wife. She signed a stipulation agreement, though, just like her husband did, and the couple has already launched a new marketing company. Both the AG's office and Dora have refused to sit down for an on-camera interview to discuss why they settled, but we will get answers. Ann?